Hey guys, Stuart Piddle on the Most Target Assistant. Hope you're having a good day today. It's Pawpaw duty today. I'm watching my little grandson. Video I don't want to make. I don't take pleasure in making it. I don't like attacking people that I think are part of my community when it comes to First Amendment rights. But there's a problem. There's a lot of people that are very misguided. And I don't mean misguided as in, oh, they just got the wrong opinion. I mean misguided as they're just dumb. And one of those people, and he really came on my radar a couple years ago. It's Auditing Erie County. His name's Dan. Now, Dan's channel got big not because of his skillful, artful way of going about public servant accountability. Not about any of that. That's not why his channel got big. His channel got big because he was one of the morons that went to January 6th. Remember when I was telling everybody, stay away, it's a false flag, don't go to the feds, setting it up. And Dan thought, well, I'll just go there because I'm a patriot. Because Dan doesn't think very far. And you're going to find out another reason why Dan of Auditing Erie County is not a very intelligent person. Mechanic by trade. And, you know, I'm a mechanic. I work on cars. I know a lot of good mechanics. But it's a certain brain. And they can I'll just leave you with my opinion and give you the reason why I have this opinion. I don't know what this glare is. I can't figure it out. I think my phone's boogered up. Anyway, so Dan come on fire a couple months ago because he started attacking other channels like the channel for public safety. Started going after him and his wife, who's actually making change. You're actually getting corrupt law enforcement officers removed from office. Dan is now going to a town that's overrun with, corrupt bureaucrats. And I want you to listen to his thoughts on private property. Now, I'm a private property guy, and I believe you're the king of your castle. I think if I want to piss off my front porch in the middle of Longview, North Carolina, I should be allowed to. Now, I'm not going to get there and wang my dang-a-lang in front of the whole world, but there are certain things that we must remember being in a free country. Dan's opinion is, if you buy a home out in the wilderness, out away from the city with woods around you, and a big developer wants to come and put low-income housing next to your home, well, that's perfectly fine. You should shut up and just deal with it. How dare you buy land out in the country and try to get away from it? I mean, you only bought land out there for your family to be free from all the hassles of traffic and crime and noise and sirens. That's why people leave the city. But according to Dan, well, if you don't buy it, you shouldn't be able to control it. And I'll let you hear Dan's own words on this. Okay? Enjoy.
Property. My opinion is everybody has the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. And if its happiness is building an apartment complex, I don't think the neighbors who bought their house thinking they were going to have woods behind their house the whole time should have any say on what somebody does with their own property. But this lady seems to think so.
For your time.
So, according to Dan, if you live out in the country and you want to be left alone to raise your family in a nice, quiet, wooded area, according to Dan, you should shut up. If you can't afford to buy the property around you, you're a dumbass and you're poor. That's according to Dan. Dan doesn't. I'm assuming Dan owns nothing but the ugly car he wrapped up that says the First Amendment audit machine. Apparently, that's all Dan owns. But people move to the country for peace and quiet. They don't want to be a bunch of sirens. They don't want fire department and cop cars going up down the road. They don't want low-income housing next door that is a magnet for criminal activity. But see, according to Dan, you're a dummy. How dare you think moving out to the country you're safe from big developers and high-rise criminal hotels? Because that's what it is. They're building low, and this is what Dan doesn't understand, because Dan's not that smart. He doesn't understand that BlackRock, if you say the word BlackRock to Dan, he has no idea who BlackRock is. Now, if he makes a response video, he'll have plenty of time to Google BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. He just doesn't understand. But America's being bought out by BlackRock. You know, the ones that say you'll own nothing and be happy? Well, they're trying to make America a rental space. In other words, you're not allowed to own anything. So big companies, like the developers building low-income housing around other housing, you know why they're doing that? Because anytime you build these big complexes, it lowers the property values of anyone else. So imagine if Dan, if he was smart enough to buy land out in the country, and his land's worth $100,000, there's nothing but woods around, and he goes out on the front porch every morning to hear the birds chirp, drinking his coffee, looking at all the deer running through the woods, and then the next thing he knows, there's a bulldozer running over every tree. Now there's no deer. Now there's no shade. Now there's no trees. There's no little animals. There's no squirrels left. There's pavement. Oh, and after the pavement, what happens? Then the builders. Then we got buildings going high-rise, straight up in the air. And then what happens? And then we bring all the crime, because that's what comes into low-income housing, is the criminal element, because the government subsidizes those housing. So now Dan, if he wants to go outside, that's right, young man, you scream it too. Dan now can't stand on his back porch and drink his coffee and enjoy the life because he has to look next door at all the criminal activity. But Dan just doesn't understand that. Dan has no clue why. See, Dan doesn't care about freedom. This is a shtick. This is his way of making money without turning wrenches. See, there's guys that are for accountability and guys who are not. There are guys that want to profit off the idea of accountability, but there's not the ones that want to go all the way and actually fight it. You understand? So let me rewind this and get to the beginning again so you can hear Dan's opinion, because he's going to criticize this woman for daring to question why city councils all over America keep approving the sale of county land to big developers for their big housing complexes. He wants to go off on this woman because her opinion is, I moved to this county to get away from the hassle. I moved to the county to get away from all the hustle and bustle and traffic and crime. That's what people want to do. They want to move away from it. But Dan's idea is you can't go far enough unless you got the money to buy it all. And according to Dan, if you ain't got the money, tough shit. It's disgusting, really.
A strain on infrastructure, decreasing property values, decreasing green space and air quality, and overcrowding in schools. And I think there needs to be this pause to study the impact of all these negative consequences and report back to the residents. And while I'm happy we're talking about the moratorium now, I almost think it's a little too late.
So I sat through a lot of these comments on this public memorandum about stopping building. And all I hear is people who own houses learning that the property next to them that used to be woods when they bought their house is now becoming an apartment complex. My opinion is tough crap. If you didn't buy the land and to develop on it, what business is it of yours to stop them from building it? Now, these people who want to live out in the country, now their area is getting overgrown, I think it's time for them to leave and move out to somewhere in the country where they can buy more.
So did you hear that? So people made the plan to leave the city and go to the country to live a nice, quiet life with their family. And then what happens is city commissioners approve of apartment complexes to be built near them. So they've already left one time. But according to Dan, tough crap, you'll just have to leave again. So according to Dan, he doesn't care about private property rights. He doesn't care. He just told you tough crap, according to Dan.
Property. But that's the problem. My opinion is this memorandum bullcrap is all about selfishness and these people who want to dictate what their neighbors can do on their own property. My opinion is everybody has the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. And
see, he has no idea what the Constitution even means. He is absolutely clueless. In other words, to Dan is, he who has the most money has the most power. Because it's these big businesses that can come into small towns and buy all the land up. And this is what BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are doing. They're coming in and they're making the highest bid and they're buying up entire counties, entire cities are buying up every property that comes available. They buy it up. Most of the time they don't even renovate. They burn it to the ground, or they roll it down to the ground with a bulldozer, and it sits empty until they're ready to develop it for industrial. This is Dan's idea. If you ain't got the money to buy around you, tough crap.
If its happiness is building an apartment complex, I don't think the neighbors who bought their house thinking they were going to have woods behind their house the whole time should have any say on what somebody does with their own property. But this lady seems to think so.
For your time.
You shouldn't have any say to what goes on around your home. This is Dan, auditing Erie County. Are you getting the drift about how ignorant Dan is? You shouldn't have any say to what's built beside in the wooded lot next to your house where you raise your children. If I pack up and I leave Longview and I move to the side of a mountain, I move to the side of a mountain to get away from what's around me in Longview. So wouldn't it be horrible for me that I moved to the side of a mountain, the next thing you know, they bulldozed the mountain down and put a Walmart? But according to Dan, tough crap. And then he spouts on the pursuit of happiness and he has no idea. So the people with money who can afford the pursuit of happiness, they're good. But the people who just want to live their lives quietly in the country, who don't have all that money, you don't deserve to be happy at your home. Leave your comment, because I can guarantee you this. The majority of people out there who are watching Dan auditing Erie County, they're finally realizing that all Dan does is walk around city halls and piss people off. Now, he has an absolute right to do it, and I approve keeping government agencies accountable. But listening to someone who does nothing but walk around with a camera and irritate people doesn't give them it shouldn't give them the credit to listen to him, because you see, he has no idea what he's talking about. Dan has no clue what he's talking about. He picked a couple words out of the Constitution. Man, I think I can make money on that. I'm tired of turning wrenches. Let's do it. And he's been here ever since. God bless.